Before we get started on this project, you need to have typed savingsaccount.py on pages 315 through 316 in one file, and then in a separate file type bank.py on pages 318 through 319. Let's take a look at what those documents look like, and they should be kind of self-explanatory at this point, but we'll take a quick gander. Bank.py is going to also use our savings account class. The bank would be a collection of savings accounts, and there's certain things that we may want to do, like create an account, remove an account, get the information, and even compute the interest that a person with an account has earned. For our savings account, we can do things like get balance, get name, make a deposit or withdrawal, and also compute the interest. The main purpose of this project is to let us see an instance of a class variable. If we assume that the rate was going to be the same for all instances of the class, then there would be no need for us to create that as an instance variable. We could create it as a class variable, and then it would be visible to all instances of that class. It would not vary from instance to instance. In some situations, you might modify the class variable, but it would take effect for the entire class. In this case, we are writing our variable in all uppercase letters, similar to how we did a constant in JavaScript. So once you have those two files, let's kind of practice with adding data and playing with the methods. So make sure that the file that you create in this project, ledger.py, is somewhere where both bank.py and savingsaccount.py can see them, because we need to import bank from bank and savings account from savings account. So we'll be creating both instances of the bank class and the savings account class in this project. So a bank could have multiple branches. We could have branches everywhere. Think of a big global bank like Regions or JP Morgan Chase, or help me here, I know you're thinking of one that I can't think of, but they have multiple branches. So let's create a bank and say it's here in Oxford, and we'll call it for Oxford Bank. And we need to create a new instance of our bank class. Now let's give a couple of savings accounts to our Oxford Bank. Okay, so let's look at this code to add a new savings account. First, we have our new instance from our class bank. We have a method called add. So if we look back at bank, we have a method to create an account, okay? But we want to create a new savings account. So we are creating a new instance of our savings account class. And if we go back to savings account class, we need 3 arguments: name, PIN number, and balance. So we pass those here: name Mario, PIN number, and balance. Luigi, PIN number, balance. So now if we print bank, we should see that information in our shell, and we do. So what if I want to retrieve and manipulate specific information? So let's say we're just solely going to work with Mario. I need to get his information. So let's look back at our classes. How can I get information? So here in our bank.py, we have a get method that asks for the name and the PIN number. If it returns none if the account doesn't exist. So let's practice with that information. I'm going to create a variable to store this in called account. And let's go to our instance of Oxford Bank and see if we can get Luigi's information but I'm going to give him the wrong PIN number. Now, if I try to print this account, I get none because that was incorrect information. But if I go back and correct this information to Luigi's PIN number, which is 1002, and run this again, I do get Luigi again. So this was printing from that first print statement where it was printing all the records in the bank, and this is just printing Luigi's information. Well, now that I have a way that I can access Luigi's information, there's other methods that I could run on Luigi. Like I can have Luigi make a deposit. So let's give Luigi a deposit. Using the deposit method, all it requires is an amount. So let's say $25. And since Luigi's balance before this was 1,000, we should see 1,025 when we print this account. So let's F5. And yes, we do indeed see 1,025. If I print, I'm going to move this statement down here. So if I print Oxford Bank after that deposit, notice that Luigi's amount of 1,025 is still there. Maybe it's time to compute the interest. So let's do account, compute interest. And if we print Oxford Bank, now both Mario and Luigi's bank balance should have grown. So I'm going to take this off so we'll only get Mario and Luigi. And it's true. Oh no, not Mario's didn't grow because I didn't tell his to compute interest. I only told Luigi to compute interest. So Luigi now has his interest computed. Okay, I want you to tinker with this. I'll have your guidelines posted on our website, but I want you in this document, before you proceed to the next bit of the tutorial, to create another bank. You can leave this here, except for that print statement. You can take it out. Create another instance of a bank. So maybe this bank is in Lafayette or whatever. Maybe it's in Pontotoc, or maybe it's in Batesville. Just put another bank wherever you want it. Add at least 3 customers. Try computing the interest, and maybe even try removing a customer. Okay, so I want you to have a little bit of data, but those guidelines, again, will be posted on the website so you can follow those step by step. So using our different methods for these classes, add another bank, add at least 3 customers to that bank, and then remove one of the customers from the bank and compute the interest. Okay, so why are we doing all this? Well, we did get kind of familiarize ourselves with class variables and how they work. But really what I want us to see through this is the use of pickling. Okay, now I think I told you before, I always use pickles. You know, like I've used it all year. I've used it for years when I'm describing programming concepts, because I never thought I would come across a pickle in programming. So, you know how I'm always like, you can call a variable whatever you want. You can call it a pickle. Well, it turns out now there's an actual thing called pickle in programming. Python includes a module that allows a programmer to save and load objects in a process called pickling. It comes from the idea that you take cucumbers and turn them into pickles, but unlike cucumbers and pickles, we can actually unpickle, which means we can take that raw data and bring it back into our file or into our program. Python takes care of all the conversion details, and it works similar to how we read files in an earlier chapter where you would open files and read files. But remember how you used to have, you needed an R for a read file or a W for a write file? Instead of using those, you use RB or WB. I think it stands for read binary and write binary. To save an object, we can use the function called pickle.dump. This is so hilarious to me. Its first argument is the object to be dumped or saved to a file, and the second argument is the file object. So of course, if we had several records from the bank, we would want to save that information because, like I showed you in a previous tutorial, if we refresh this content or we didn't have this content actually typed in here, it would just disappear, and we don't want that. So we are going to modify our bank.py to include a way for us to both load a pickled file, so we would unpickle a file, and then also pickle a file. So close down your ledger, and again, you need to do this after you've added that content that I asked you to add. And I already have it in Visual Studio Code open, so I'm just going to leave it here. So now in your bank.py, you need to import Pickle. Now we're going to create a new function, show way down at the bottom. You probably don't have yours on this one. Okay. And we are going to call it save. And it's going to take self and then file name equal none. So this is going to allow us to save our pickled accounts to a file. And the only thing that the user has to type in the parameters is the file name. Okay. So you might want to pause the video and copy that over, or you can look in the book on page 320. Okay, this is going to allow us to save a file, but then later if we wanted to load a file, we need to change that in our init method. So our init method was something just like this, but we're going to change it to look like this. Okay, it creates a new dictionary to hold all the accounts. If a file name is provided, it loads the accounts from a file of pickled accounts. This is hilarious, pickled accounts. I love it. There is a warning here, both in the book and the research that I've done, is you want to be very careful with pickled files. You only want to open a pickled file in which you have either pickled the file yourself or you know exactly where that pickled file came from, because you are very susceptible to malware or viruses or harmful data here. So do not open a pickled file in which you are not absolutely sure of where it came from. Okay, now that you have all that typed, let's go back to our ledger. And you can save this. So we can go Oxford B.save, and we can create a new file. So how about we call it pickled, and the file extension is .pkl. So it looks something like that. Okay, so if you execute this code, okay, nothing happens on your screen, but you should have had a file pop up wherever you have this saved, .pickle.pkl. So now, let's see if this works. Okay, I saved this as ledger2.py. Okay, so in our new file, we need to import the same information. Import pickle, because we're going to open that pickled file. We're going to unpickle our pickle. And let's create an instance of that Oxford Bank. But this time we'll pass in the pickled.pickle file. And if we print this instance of Oxford Bank, it should have all of the accounts. So revise this process so that when I execute your Ledger 2 code, it shows all of your accounts from Oxford B, but also all of your accounts from the bank that you created. Okay? Good luck and happy pickling. How much fun is that? Really, I just say pickle all the time because I love saying pickle. It's a fun word. It's fun.